all you happy lost souls. How's everybody doing out there? If you're new to the channel, my channel just talks a lot about artifacts, stone tools, rough gemstones, geology, and a lot of original music that I posted over the years. Filming is not my best of strengths. I try to stay a little bit more steady than I used to be. There's no AI on this channel. This is all off the cuff. I research some things and I regurgitate them. I don't write scripts. So sometimes some of my information may be a little bit off. I try to correct most of it. But today, guys, we're going to be talking about something pretty interesting. And it's one of the tips I can tell you to use when you're going out to find some really cool rough gemstones in southeastern Pennsylvania and artifacts. Because in these places, the two things intersect and overlap. And that are areas that have historical and geological references to geothermal or thermal hot springs. In the area historically, they're also known as mineral springs or mineral pools. In fact, in southeastern Pennsylvania, where I find a lot of this stuff around the Huntington Valley, Willow Grove, Wissahickon Valley areas, there was an old hotel in, I believe, the 1800s that was called the Mineral Spring Hotel. And literally part of the Pennypack flowed through this hotel. I did some on-site filming there, and that'll be a video later on that comes out. I try to get 1 to 2 videos up a month. I'm by myself, and I have a lot going on personally in life. Help take care of family members and working a lot. So, some big piece of tourmaline. I had a video about this tourmaline formation containing some gold. Well, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is something called vent theory. And simply put, it's a theory that pretty much explains that geothermal or hydrothermal vents are, at least on Earth, where life started, the origins of life. All of the building blocks for the creation of carbon-based life forms come out of these vents. It's phosphorus, sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen, all kinds of metals come out of these vents, silicates. And when they mix with the hydrogen and the oxygen in the water, you get simple one-cell organisms start to form, and you have the origins of life. And when you start finding a lot of this fossilized coral in the area, you start finding a lot of this brachiated jasper in the area, fossils of fish, you start realizing, 250, 300 million years ago, the whole area was a shallow tropical ocean. And the creeks of this area follow fault lines, especially the Pennypack. And that creek ran under those ancient oceans. It was still running. It's still running today. And all along the fault underneath of that ancient creek, that fault is very active, creating cracks that expose the mantle to the surface, allowing geothermal vents to form, hydrothermal vents to form. And even if you're into astronomy, let's say, this is such an important area of study because we can extrapolate the things that are found around these hot vents to other things in the universe, in the space, in the cosmos. And one of the main things that forms around these vents is something called extremophiles. And these are microorganisms that are highly valuable to science because these things can survive in pretty much liquid lava. And by studying where these originate from and the environments they live into, we can get a better understanding of what exoplanets might have life on them, planets with tectonics and a lot of hot spring and geothermal activity most likely has some sort of organisms or alien life living on them. Here's another big thing. I'm going to get my light on here because of the color. The light that I'm using doesn't really allow you to see too well the colors down here. This material here, right here, I've got different effigies here. I've got a boar's head that the natives used, a bird or eagle head, and probably a bear or beaver, could even be a turtle head. But this stuff here has all kinds of crazy materials in it. Sorry, let me get this under here. You've got a lot of mercury coming from the hot springs, and this echolite only forms on seafloor bottoms exposed to hydrothermal activity. You got all this green, you got this epidot, and you have these little rubies and cinnabar crystals from the mercury running all through this. So it is very, very cool. I'm trying to get the light on. I'm having a lighting issue in here. You can really see all the reds from the mercury. Another piece back here of epidite, of echolite. And even the Romans and other ancient civilizations utilized this material to make sculptures, statues, for their temples and things out of. It's a very, very colorful material. Speaking of colorful, this stuff over here is really colorful. I'm trying to get it a little bit. You also get all these crazy schists with all these colorful metals running through them. Some brachiation from calcite filling in between the cracks, but you get a lot of sapphire running through this because there's a lot of aluminum in the schists. You get mercury staining from cinnabar and other minerals. But really, these hot springs are the origins of life. It's where life was created. It's where life was started. And the Native Americans and the ancients, whether they were Native Americans before them or even older groups that were here that migrated from elsewhere, they were utilizing these hot springs. They were taking the materials and they were leaving offerings like this set of... The other thing that is around these hot springs is magnetite. And you got all kinds of different magnetites. It's real sparkly. But this is extremely magnetic, and they were carving artifacts out of that. You get a lot of gold coming out of the hot springs that is literally inside of this tourmaline or trapped in quartz. And because you have a lot of silicates moving through this warm water around these hydrothermal vents, you get a lot of agates that can form. If wood is present, you can get the silicated petrified wood that occurs, which I have some on the other side. But really the thing to take away from this is if you look at a geological survey and if you look at the history of an area and they're talking about hot springs, go to those areas or mineral springs and look around. If you also find a big white sycamore tree near one of these pools, definitely look around them because you'll find all kinds of artifacts and rough gemstones. You also get this banded chert. This chert with these bands that run through it. Usually, if the bands are black, it's usually a titanium mineral that was deposited in there, causing that. It could even be more magnetite or hematite. And a really cool piece of garnet or a piece of cinnabar in this rock here, in this volcanic material. You get a lot of andesites from the lava with garnets, garnetic crust on the andesite there. Pyroxazine crystals inside. This is another telltale sign that there was a lot of tectonic activity. Like I said, southeastern Pennsylvania and that whole Appalachian wall, that ridge, if you look at the valleys that come off of that, you can see the absolute craziness and how dynamic it must have been when the continent Pangaea ripped apart. And Pangaea ripped apart, my bad. Some 250, 300 million years ago, when the continents tore apart, and it left behind all this crazy, unique geology. The gradients, the heating, the pressure. Here's a big piece of hematite right here. These can get confused as meteors a lot because they have that real shiny crust, but that's just hematite. Well, what's really cool is these hot springs are the origins of life. They're like a portal or threshold. And these portals and thresholds between two worlds, they were always celebrated by Native Americans. And you can find all kinds of artifacts around these sites. I got tons under here, arrowheads, poking tools, effigies. These effigy stones, you can get really cool ones. Like you got a woolly mammoth here. And this is schist with sapphire. And you can see its head, you see its eye, you see its trunk. You can even see the holes in its trunk right there. See its mouth right here, its ear. You get a woolly mammoth effigy. I've got one that's a horse poker. So looks like it's made out of yellow sapphire. You see the horse's eye, the mane, and you would lock your thumb under here and use that to poke pressure. You get all these cool artifacts found around these hot springs, and they're just really crazy. You get a lot of turtle effigies, these weird zigzag looking Z things. There's some kind of pressure flaking tool. Just get a lot of arrowheads and points. You can find tools made out of blue sapphire and corundum. These are all corundum type tools. Cutters, scrapers, pokers. But all of this stuff is found in association with these quarries centered around these hot springs where all this good material and metals are. But really what I want you to take away from this is these places were worshipped and venerated by ancient peoples. And maybe they had some spiritual or underlying notion that these are places where life begins, where life is formed, these portals. It's where fresh water is coming out of the ground into the earth, feeding the environment, feeding the forests, feeding the animals, feeding the people. And it's very important, these areas, to them, and that's why you find so many of these artifacts deposited. My guess is they were left for some kind of offering. These areas were spiritually rich and intense. Obviously, there's all different types of artifact groupings and pairs left behind over the years. Different groups all stopped and either quarried, mined, or worshipped these hot springs in some way or another. And again, guys, this is in southeastern Pennsylvania. I'll try to get the lighting a little bit better for you. You can really see all the reds and the greens in that echoglite. And if you're interested in knowing more about echoglite as a mineral or as a rock, I have a whole video on echoglite. Some gold down in that piece of tourmaline right there. You see all the gold running through it. And the gold in this area of southeastern Pennsylvania, because most of the glaciers didn't come down this far, they kind of stopped in the middle of the state. The ice came down about as far as like the Poconos, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. That's where the ice sheets from the glaciers when we were frozen and we were in an ice age, that's where they came down to. So the gold deposit in this area, most of it's not glacial. It's from geothermal vents or from thermal vents that have brought gold up from inside of the earth and exposed it. And a lot of times it's mixed in with these other materials. Limestone, quartz, tourmaline are some of the host rocks you find a lot of the gold. This is a really cool boar's head, this effigy stone here. Could be a hog-faced bear too, I'm not really positive. There's an eye faintly on there in the middle. It's hard to see, it's hard to pick up. And all these artifacts on these tables are all found around areas that have hot spring. Historic hot spring activity. Some of them are still active. Some of them are old, retired hot springs that are no longer active. Look, that's a really cool piece of, this is corundum right here, and this is a poker or drill bit. It's another piece here. The sapphire is so hard, if they could work it into a shape as a tool, they would love to use it because it's harder than any kind of steel, really. It's a great thing to make a drill bit or a tool out of. But anyway, guys, I wanted to stress, look into what extremophiles are, look how important they are, how life started around these thermal hot springs. And what's really cool is it all traces back to the origins of life on other planets. And they call these exoplanets, these planets that sit in Goldilocks zones of other solar system stars. Areas, planets that are rocky, that are like the Earth, that have tectonics and a core and a mantle. A lot of people don't know this, but around 2.5, 3 billion years ago, the Earth was just a liquid ball of magma. There was no crust yet. There was no water yet. There's no atmosphere yet. And there's no moon yet. So every meteor, every rock, every comet smashed right into that gooey, swirling ball of lava. And all those meteors and all those comets were filled with different metals like gold, palladium, titanium, nickel, iron. But these things like gold, palladium, platinum, things that aren't native to the earth, all of that was carried here from space and deposited into the molten thing that eventually became the earth and eventually became the crust of the earth. And these hydrothermal vents and these cracks in the earth's along their plates, along their tectonics, expose and allow all these minerals and metals to come to the surface. And a lot of them are sulfides or tellurides, so it's an amalgamation of metals mixed together in some sort of sedimentary or metamorphosized host rock like schist. That's why you get all these crazy color bands in the schist. I'm trying to maybe get a light on this so you can see it better. Some of the crazy coloration in some of the schist that has become secondary metamorphosis has occurred, and you get all these crazy colors in there. A lot of reds and blues, and you get all that banding in between each layer, and that whole top layer, that blue layer, is turned into sapphire essentially because of the pressure and the heat and the aluminum content, and there must have been some exposure to oxygen creating corundum or aluminum oxide. And like I said, you get a lot of really pure magnetite. Magnetite is another indicator that you're dealing with geothermal or hot spring activity. Echolite, bog iron, nickel, mercury, magnetite, hematite. Here's a really good piece of mercury right here, cinnabar. See all the cinnabar crystals in there? You get a lot of mercury around these. These are all mineral clues, or rock clues that there's geothermal activity in the past, or there still is in the present. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much going to be it. Just a really quick video on event theory and how the origins of life, at least on Earth, this theory proposes that all life started out of these geothermal vents. And it's just amazing to me that the natives spiritually were worshiping these areas, and now we're learning in our present time that these areas are responsible for the origin of life on Earth and on other exoplanets. Look, I love you guys. Please subscribe. Sorry, there's been a ton of videos lately. Some more magnetite up here. But I've just been having a lot of stuff going on in my personal life lately. Taking care of family members, working a lot. And the weather's been absolutely crazy. And because I have like 36 screws in my body, in my arm, from ice hockey injury when I was younger, I developed a weird chronic pain disorder. So when the weather changes, I am like out of commission a lot of times. So I do apologize. I'm going to try to get some more content up, some more rambling rock conversations. But I just want to say thank you to everybody, everyone that's found the channel, that's subscribed, that's reached out. It's hard for me to get back to everyone because I'm just a one-man operation. I try to answer things here and there when I have time. But look, I know that people find amazing things out there. There's artifacts and, awesome gemstones found all over this country. And really, all I can stress to you if you're new and you want to start this hobby is check out the geological surveys for your area. Just go into Google, put in your zip code, type in geological surveys, and you'll find what is in your area and what you might be able to actually find. In an area that has a lot of pegmatite and metamorphosized and secondary metamorphosized stone and tons of geothermal activities, you're bound to find all kinds of gemstones and metal if you know what you're looking at. But anyway, guys, check out my other videos if you're into this type of stuff. I love you all, and it was great talking to you. I'll be posting some more videos soon. And I love you guys. Please subscribe. Stay safe out there. And if you're lost, stay happy, because it's in those moments you find yourself. And I just want to say peace out. And I'm going to be making another video soon where I get a lot of my gemstone materials out that are in here. And we go through some of those those better higher end specimens. But anyway, guys, I love you all. Please subscribe, stay safe out there, and go explore and happy hunting. It's a big piece of agatized petrified wood back there. Anyway, guys, stay safe, and I love you all, and peace.